Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, February the 16th, 6:32 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. Obviously, uh, the preseason curled into a 4-1 nightmare against the Rapids. I'm sure it was very disappointing indeed. Um, a lot of the pundits, especially from Orlando City, we were a little very hyped with the newcomers. Obviously, it looked a lot like rebuilding an engine of a car. Um, Iago was there at the absence of Captain Robin Jansson. Obviously, he saw maybe three 1v1s, lost at the helm with a really rapid and fast Colorado team. And also, we saw experiments like the experiment of Ivan Angulo as a right back. And unfortunately, it was a 1-4 loss. There was really no vocal voice in the back line. It was a complete disarray and disconnect. We'll dive in today of everything that happened at Colorado. We'll also be discussing the lineup, the defense, the attack, best players, worst players, how the team looks so far. Then we're gonna dive into kind of the depth, of this transfer window. Was it a success? And what positions need reinforcement? And then we'll discuss also some of the MLS Apple TV rankings that came out today as well. So stay tuned, drop us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. And again, the Red Bulls are coming into town with their high octane press. They definitely have watched this and they smell some blood in the water. This Saturday, though, I do want to stress this isn't just a home opener. I feel like this is an identity check. And I understand that there's a lot of intricacies and a lot of question marks on if this team is gonna do what is gonna be a better season than last. Can some of these newcomers, new kids, hold the line or lead? So against New York, it's all about grit. It's all about making Intercoast Stadium a fortress, and then we will welcome the 2026 season here at LPO. I'm here with John and I'm here with David. Uh, what's up, David? How are you, my friend? Good to see you. And tell us a little bit about how you've been.
Yeah, happy Monday, everybody. Kind of a tough weekend, I'll be honest. Not really what we were expecting to see when we went out there, but like I said last week, just always nice to be back in the stadium, even if the result wasn't the way we wanted it to go. Obviously, we'll break it down in a little bit, but good to see some of you all out there as well. Some of my season ticket mates were out there, so it was nice to see them. So really just a nice pleasant time. It was a great evening. The weather was great, I'll give it that. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to putting this one in the rear view and moving towards Saturday.
John, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm ready for the season opener, come what may, whether we're good or bad. I'm ready to get the season back underway. We've had all this, preseason and the build up and the hype and all the previews and the predictions are out. I can't wait till Saturday. Let's just kick a ball. Let's go.
100%. So for everybody that's watching us that always loves to watch us on X, the software that we're using currently is having some issues with X. I just posted the live manually into our thread. So just make sure you can go back into our X account and just kind of see it. It's going to show up now. Now, if you're on YouTube, thank you so much to the 28 people watching live. We appreciate you. We thank you for your support. But yeah, let's dive in straight up to this game. Unfortunately, it wasn't pretty. It was it was an ugly outing. Orlando's defense, according to what I read from Mike Romajo, as well from what David's report that it's on our website, that we shared it on the socials. It was a revolving door, conceding 4 goals in a match that definitely exposed some vulnerability defensively in a revamped back line. So for starters, let's start with John. John, how do you take this L? And for starters, what were your expectations coming into the game and then leaving?
I think for me, first of all, we have to remind ourselves that it is still a preseason game. I think we have to start
Yeah.
with that. But a week away from the home opener this is the last thing you want to see, us getting opened up like this at the back. And it's something that we saw, like I saw the first game of the preseason, and I saw the last game of the preseason, right? So I was there for that game in OHB against I remember who it was now, that USL team, Louisville, whatever.
Lexington. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And there was some real miscommunication between the goalkeeper and the back line, and there were some mess ups, and we're like, it's day one, and there's OCB guys and everything else. And then I think to kind of see that similar kind of thing happening still at the end of preseason doesn't give me a lot of hope. Like you want to see a bit of progression there throughout, that we're kind of figuring it out, and we're kind of starting to show, okay, these are the pieces and this is how we're going to play. I just think the Angulo right back situation is so disastrous that it ruined any like hopes we had of seeing what a solid back line could look like. But also we had real issues with David Brecolo and Iago and Maxime Crepeau. So I think it's not just Angulo related. I think there's so many issues there. So defensively, I was extremely worried about what we're going to look like, because that was awful, I think, from a defensive standpoint. Attacking wise, there was some bright like sparks. It was great to see Thiago looking good. Duncan had some good chances. There were some moments in the attack that looked really bright, but we weren't, scoring a lot of goals. So again, there's work to be done there. So I think this game just really not what you want to see a week before the home opener. But again, it is still a preseason game. And I think a lot of our issues come from the fact that Angulo is just not a right back.
Now, David, taking what John said, is it time? I mean, it's not even the first game against the Red Bulls, not even Saturday.
Right.
Which I just found out I have to go from a birthday party, drive 2 hours to Interco. Just found out today. It's going to be fun drive. Obviously, it's not the first game. Is it time to press the panic button? Because this is certainly concerning, but I mean,
Sure.
Should we really be pressing the panic button?
Yeah, so I'll start with this. At least you remembered the game, Luis. Shout out to my boy Steven, who completely forgot that opening weekend was this Saturday. Appreciate it, buddy. I don't know where you were, but anyway, I'm not going to sit here. Unfortunately, I'm going to disappoint some people. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to yell and I'm not going to scream and I'm not going to blow my top. But what I am going to say is this. There were some things in that game that are incredibly concerning and disappointing, right? Especially with the fact that this game was the last tune-up for the regular season opener, of course, on Saturday.
100%.
Am I going to go and hit everybody over the head that had a bad performance? No. It's this one match against Colorado on a Saturday that wasn't our day, which Orlando City's had a lot of those. But guys, let's put this in context, right? Earlier in the week, this is the same team that beat Cincinnati, whose first team beat Cincinnati 3-1 until we rotated all the young guys on, and Cincinnati refused to and got a goal against us and ended the game 3-2. But we still beat Cincinnati, who's probably going to be a top 4 team in the East this year. So let's take that for a win, right? Let's talk about the Nashville draw that we got 2-2, where we fought back and tied the game and fought back into it. Am I worried that against a Colorado side we dropped 4 goals? Absolutely.
100%.
Am I worried that we lost? No, I don't care about wins and losses in the preseason. What I will say, and what I'll pair it off of John, which I thought was the biggest problem in the game that was there, and for everyone that maybe have been there to get a perspective, I was literally right on the halfway line. I was the second row on the halfway line. So
Wow.
I got basically some of the best seats in the house for this
That's so
game.
cool.
The defense, especially the communication, awful. I don't know who was talking to who. I don't know who was supposed to be pulling that together, but wherever that leadership that Robin Jansson normally has in the middle of the back line was non-existent. Did not exist. So that's number one, and that's the problem that has to get fixed first. Somebody on that line needs to take the rest of the line by the scruff of the neck and say, I'm going to lead this line. I'm going to be the focal communicator. We're going to figure this out. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I don't need to see Ivan Angulo play right back ever again. That one match was enough to tell me that he does not have it. And let me go a little bit deeper, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh boy, they're dogging on Angulo again, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's the reality of the situation here. On the first goal, he not only is out of position because he's too central, he's not hugging the touchline, he lets Yappy go by him, which again, Yappy's a much bigger dude and not as fast as Ivan Angulo, but the guy whips past Ivan Angulo. So not only does he start out of position, he also doesn't catch Yappy by the time he gets sort of halfway down the line. And then he doesn't close out when Yappy goes to cross because he eventually kind of gets within 1 or 2 steps of him. And the ball just lumps right over the entire Orlando City defense over to their striker in the corner. And it didn't just happen once. It didn't just happen twice. It happened 4 times, according to my notes, in terms of that exact play, where Ivan Angulo was caught out in the wrong position. And even though he has that speed, couldn't recover and get to the guy because he didn't understand the defensive principles of closing out. He wasn't closing out any of the guys that he had. On the second goal, what happens is Cartagena comes back to cover for him. Yappy goes for the overlap. His partner, and I forgot the number, I apologize, takes the underlap. They don't switch properly, so everything gets mixed up. Again, Yappy gets the ball on the line. He puts it over, and it gets into the back of the net. The other thing I'll say about the defense is, as much as we've highlighted Iago, he got beat all night on aerials for whatever reason, and I don't know what was going on with that. But he just did not have a good night with any of that. He got beat on the first one. I don't blame so much of him because that ball that got put in was gorgeous. I don't know what Yappy's been doing this offseason, but I've never seen him play that well. And I watch a fair amount of MLS, not a ton of Colorado, but enough.
It was partly Yappy being amazing, but also partly Angulo being so bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's never played a game that good in his life.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at the goal, and then we'll read your comments in just a second.
Okay.
And I do want to say, before I go into the first goal, Orlando City outshot, according to the mainland, which I want to say hello to Michael Citro, outshot Colorado 7-4. Now,
cool.
No,
they weren't great shots.
Now, obviously, you have to understand, these crazy tactics of Angulo starting as the right back, they were already rumored. We brought him here and we said that it was going to happen, and it happened.
Luis, can I comment on this?
It should not happen against the Red Bulls.
Can I comment on this before you get to the video? Because I talked about this in the wrap-up article that I put up. Because, again, Michael Citro was able to get some quotes from Oscar Pareja, because both him and Mike Gramajo were there and were able to get some comments or whatever it was. The one that stuck out to me that had me rolling my eyes is where they asked Oscar Pareja about Angulo playing right back. And Oscar Pareja answers with, Angulo's a winger, and we're trying to fill a spot. We have Zachariah Taifi, who had some difficulties in the week, so we're trying to come up with some solutions. Guys, it's BS. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to call Oscar out here. We know that ever since Alex Freeman left, Ivan Angulo has been the guy they have played the most amount of time at right back. You can see it in any of the scrimmages where the club posted photos or videos or whatever it was. You can look at opposition's photos and videos and see that it's happened as well. Sources have told me, have told Luis, that he's been playing right back. What a another level of coach speak that I don't understand. And no insult to Michael Citro or Mike Gramajo, but what BS to just be served in front of you? Zachariah Taifi has not started in preseason for Orlando City since Alex Freeman has left. That is a fact. I'm not telling you something that's not real. And the reason why I'm getting upset about it is because don't try to sell us something that's not happening here. Like, if you thought Angulo was the better guy, then just own it and say, I think Angulo was the better guy and we wanted to try him there. But that wasn't the case. If Taifi was healthy, guys, I can tell you right now, he would not have started this game at right back. I just know that for sure. So it just bothers me that a comment like that comes out. Because again, these are back-to-back comments by Oscar, because we haven't talked to him a ton this offseason. These are back-to-back comments, his initial press conference when preseason started, and now this is sort of the next time that we've had a chance to talk to him, where he just is kind of saying things that just don't add up. Like, the pieces don't fit together here. So it's just frustrating to see what that is. I would rather prefer that he owns up to it and says, hey, we put Ivan out there tonight. It wasn't his night. We've seen him better, though. We think he can rise to the occasion. We're going to work with him all week. Done. I don't need much more than that. Like, we all know he had a bad game. I think Poppy knew he had a bad game. I think Ricardo Moreira, who was on the other side, knew he had a bad game. Everyone saw it. Just own up to it. I just don't get it. It confuses me.
No, when it comes to this particular goal as well, and the following three that come after that, all defensive woes, I think it shows also how the MLS and the rhythm of the MLS is against a well-seasoned Colorado Rapids team that have really good players. I think they're going to be a really good team in the West. Now
They got a new coach.
Iago, but Iago, I know there was a lot of expectation, but it shows that the MLS, it's a whole different ball game. You know, clearly, right? It's a whole different ball game. And I think a lot of the teams down south are going to find that out very soon if the CONCACAF admits MLS teams to play club level down there. So, but let's watch the first goal here. That's easy. That's what you said. It's out of position, right? Now, my word here is, what's Wilder doing there? You know?
Well, that's what I was talking about, Luis, is that so both of those guys on the outside, of course, have to be defended against, right? So Ivan Angulo takes number 99, who is chirpy all night and honestly just kind of a jerk. But he's on that play, he's responsible for the guy that's farther back in the screen. But when it all starts in the build-up, you notice they kind of crisscross. One overlaps, one underlaps. And Cartagena and Angulo collectively don't recognize it in enough time.
Well,
and then Cartagena is asked to track back a whole bunch to get there, and he's just not there.
Well, the problem I have is there's, number one, Orlando played, for what I saw this whole entire footage, they played very passively. So they really didn't press as much. They didn't play very physical as they used to before. And Angulo just let this go, and it kind of made Wilder get out of position to help him out defensively. It's like Wilder was better anticipating the play than Ivan, unfortunately, on here. And then we get that, and
Yeah, and it's not a good save by Craig Player. I mean, let's just be honest. I get that at that point he's just trying to dive, but also, like, on the same play, Brekalo doesn't recognize it quick enough either. And instead of Brekalo going out to follow the attacker, he goes in when there's nobody there. Iago's got the one striker that's in the box, who honestly the whole night was just also terrorizing Orlando's defense, but he just doesn't get there. He's caught in no man's land. There's nobody by Brekalo. There's literally nobody there. So yeah. I don't know. I don't, again, this goes down to what John and I were talking about, of the defensive communication just was non-existent the entire night. And you expect that out of somebody like Iago, right? He hasn't been there all of preseason. This guy's getting tossed into matches that he just doesn't have chemistry with guys. I totally get that. But not once did I notice during the game, and John can tell me if I'm wrong, I never saw a single person on that back line go to the rest of the people and say, hey, get up, pick up your face, let's go. This is what we need to do to go forward. I saw a lot of finger pointing after like the second or third goal, but I didn't really see any of the, hey guys, let's go, let's get it together, let's hype up, let's do. There was none of that. And so it seemed like four dudes that have not played with each other the entire preseason were playing in the back line on Saturday. That's what it felt like.
Is that how you saw it, John, on the first goal?
That's how I saw it for 90 minutes, honestly, dude. It looked like a team that didn't have any organization at the back. There was no leadership at the back. I think the other thing on Angulo, and a lot of the time it's about the defensive intelligence and the defensive positioning
100%.
And whether to press the man, whether to follow the ball. Like, I saw so many times that he was not in line with the back line at all. Like, he was way far back or he was way far forward, leaving all these massive gaps in the spaces. But then it wasn't just him. There was lots of other issues across the back line. I think actually Adrian Marin probably had one of the best games in a defensive position. Wilder lost his head because of whatever happened with 99, and like the halftime he had to take Wilder off because, and we want him to be the leader, so he can't be losing his head if he's going to be the leader, like same as Jansson used to do, right? So I think there was a lot of issues across the board, not just Angulo, but this just affirmed for us what we kind of believed. Is like, this just doesn't work. And I agree with David, what he said on Oscar's press conference. Like, don't try and pull the wool over our eyes. That's not the case. You tried to put Angulo there. It doesn't work. This proves it doesn't work. And I don't know, based on what I saw in Ricardo Moreira's face at the end of the game, I think he looked pretty annoyed. And I don't know whether that's because he also thinks it doesn't work, but this was a terrible game. And I think the reactions of our head coach and our, head of soccer ops should show you that, like, this is not good.
Yeah, it's not good. And I heard great things about Nolan Miller. So if you sometimes in soccer, you just gotta do it. You cannot reinvent the wheel. Just do it simply, man.
He looked much better when he came in.
Put a defender in the defense and put an attacker in the attack.
Yeah.
Like, you just keep it simple.
It's safe to put Miller there than Angulo.
Yeah, the problem is I think the team played itself, because if you put Miller out there, you literally have no center back depth at that point, right?
It's last year all over again.
Right. And so it's like, as much as I'd love to see Miller out there, it's just, who do you have behind him to do anything else? I think I kept saying this. I kept saying this online throughout the weekend. I think it's about time that we start doing more experimenting than just moving Angulo, right? We've all been banging the Taifi drum. We know at this point Oscar's probably not going to do it unless Taifi has one of those moments like Freeman did last year, where he just plays himself into the lineup and Oscar has no choice. But at this point,
he has no choice.
Well, I don't know that he believes that, because from what I'm hearing, Angulo's still going to start opening day because they're looking at this as a blip on the radar.
Well, I understand your sources, but and I have my own too. But I mean, again, you have to understand, it's not so much of what he wants here anymore. It's become of what works. So it clearly,
this don't work.
Everybody in the stadium saw that this doesn't work, right? So I'm sure he needs to take notes and fix this. If we don't see that coming the first 4 games, it's gonna be probably a rude awakening. I think the way it is.
To finish my point, though, in terms of testing and all that kind of stuff, I think this is where you need to start getting into the conversation of, is Jalen Yearwood that bad that you guys put him in the doghouse? Because from what I understand right now, he's a little bit in the doghouse and more so playing with OCB. Is he that bad? Because he's a natural right back, so you got to kick the tires on that. You got to see where he's at in terms of fitness and level and all that kind of stuff. But then again, like I've proposed before, could you not try to see if Tahiri Brown could potentially like switch sides and play a role for this team if that's what it takes? Like, if you don't have the confidence
I'm with you there.
in Taifi, at least let another young man who's been in our academy for a long time get an opportunity as well. I mean, at this point, I'm at a loss of why we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I get it. Angulo's Poppy's guy and all that stuff and whatever. And I'll give Angulo a little bit of credit. The 2 times he went forward on the counter, he looked nasty, but guess what he didn't have again this time that he had all of last season? No end product. It literally ended up with crosses literally into the seats because the guy has no end product.
Yeah. Several people said it to me, and somebody posted it. It's Huon all over again.
Yeah.
You got defensive liabilities, and when you get up the field, the end product is.
And Luis, I'll say this because it's not going to be in this video because obviously Colorado is highlighting themselves, but I'm sure John caught this. In the very beginning of the game, like the first 5 or 10 minutes, Pasalic and Angulo kept switching spots on the right-hand side. Like, Angulo would go past Pasalic and try to almost take, like, the right winger spot. And then at one point I noticed, and I don't know if John could see from his side because he was on the other side, but at one time I noticed, I believe it was Diego Torres, kind of gave Angulo a look, whistled, and was like, no, you have to go back to the other side. Like, you're not supposed to be going forward ahead of Pasalic because the goal is to not have Pasalic at right back. The goal is to have Pasalic at right wing.
You reminded me. I sent a tweet out about that exact moment. 73rd minute, he lost the ball, the left wing position, and then just hung out, like literally offside, watching Colorado run at the attack. Dude, you're the right back. Like, you can't This is not, you're not left wing anymore where you just wander. You're like, oh, it's cool. Like they got it. No, you're the right. A, you're out of position. B, you lost the ball. You have to get back. So I just think there's a lot of these things, and we can bag on Agula all day, but he's just, he's not the answer. He's not the answer.
Luis, can we talk about some positives, like to turn this around a little bit? Because I think there were some positives in this game that I think John and I can kind of highlight. The first name, yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so the first name I'll say is Tyrese Spicer. I thought had a really quality game. I don't know if John felt the same way, but I thought he honestly, like, he had some great moments. He beat a lot of dudes all night. Like, he was making that right side of the Rapids kind of feel silly for most of the night. The only issue I had with Spicer is just, again, he just didn't have the end product that we would expect him to have. As John and I kind of talked about, he got caught between two minds a lot. I don't think sometimes he didn't know whether he wanted to shoot or whether to cross or square the ball and anything like that. So I want to give him credit for that, because I thought his bombing, like, all night was just, he was terrorizing Colorado. I think the other one that fans are more split on, and I think I'm taking the more positive, I'm curious to see what John thinks. I think Thiago had a pretty solid shift, considering he didn't get a ton of service, so I don't want to hit on the guy because, again, that was really on the midfield to try to get him the ball, and they really just didn't at the end of the day. But he made some really nice runs past the center backs. He made them look kind of silly for a lot of that movement. And like I was trying to tell people beforehand, he's a different striker than what Duncan did. I think Duncan also had a positive appearance that happened in the second half. But again, he's a different dude, right? With his, he got two beautiful balls on a platter played right to him. One from Adrian Marin. Adrian Marin made this gorgeous pass to Duncan, like around the 70th minute, somewhere around there. I remember noting it, and I was like, dang, Marin, okay, I didn't know you had that in your bag. But he made this really nice pass to Duncan. It's just Duncan's first touch let him down again. Like, it just, I don't know what it is with him, but it's like his first touch just lets him down. If he does like a no touch or takes like more than one touch, he's fine. But if he does a one touch, he's like out of position and off balance and whatever. So I want to give credit to both strikers, because I thought they both brought different looks to what Orlando can do. I'm still in the camp that I think Duncan should be the starter. I think he wears down a defense more. And then I think Thiago would be the nice piece of, like, if you want to bring him on the wing, or if you want to bring him up as striker and kind of use that Ramiro Enrique kind of role of, like, be quick, get behind the defense, all that kind of stuff. I think both of those things could be nice for him, but I don't know. It depends on how people feel about striker, I guess.
So based on some of on your piece, and also on what other colleagues mentioned to me as well, is, like, obviously Spicer looks like the standout attacker. I think he also drew, he drew the foul for the free kick for Atuesta. So, I think Thiago is a work in progress, but he has a lot of potential. I agree with you there. Now, I think Orlando's attack showed, I think, based on what you're saying, a little bit of promise in creation. They weren't really timid, but, they just lacked that finishing touch. And I mean, you could say that in preseason that stuff is normal, but I mean, you're talking about, having Duncan last year as well. You had, Spicer last year as well. You have Pasalic last year as well. Now, also Martin Ojeda was gone. He was sick, as I think I mentioned to you guys on the chat, but I never posted anything. But yeah, I got word that he was sick. Any positives, John, that you saw aside of those that David mentioned and I mentioned, that you saw that you really liked?
Yeah, I think both Duncan and Thiago had some good chances, and either of them could have scored. There was actually some really good saves from the Colorado goalkeeper. I think I was just mainly focused on all the terribleness in defense. That it was hard to see too much positive going on. I think Atuesta did have a good free kick, which from my angle, I couldn't tell what was going on, but it just seemed to go through the wall. And I genuinely thought Marco Pasalic was going to have that chance. I didn't expect Atuesta to take it from there. But outside of that, I didn't see him in the 10 position really shining. I didn't see him getting high enough up the field, I think, and kind of, we missed Ojeda, I think, in that attack. And then once you add him in, hopefully the likes of Marco and other pieces around him look even brighter. And I thought, it was nice to see some of the other guys come off the bench. Like Sakata was a bright shout that, he came off the bench, and we see this time last year, he had that horrible injury. So it was kind of nice to close out this year, the preseason game, and he comes off the bench and does some good movements and had a little bit of brightness. Also, Colin Gusky as well looked pretty decent coming off the bench. A guy that I don't know how many first team minutes there are left for Colin Gusky, but I thought he looked decent. So yeah, those are the other ones I'd like to pick out.
Yeah, like David and John were saying as well, is like, Oscar could have his squad, his his back four, or his, some of a preference when it comes to style. But I mean, we have we have depth, but it's youth depth, and some depth that we've seen. Some people have seen it on OCB. I've seen it in OCB, but it's unknown to have a lot of minutes with the first team. And so I think he has no option but to really find a solution here when it comes to putting kids like Caraballo, putting kids like Gusky, putting Harvey in, Ellis. We can't just rely on, again, the Angulos and having Ojeda play almost every freaking game, or Atuesta again. We gotta use our depth. If we're gonna have this big pipeline of players that are young, we gotta use it. We can't just have it there for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? We gotta use the depth. So let's read some comments real quick, and then we continue with the analysis here of the game. Let's read some comments. Is Ruckus Racing 419, 12 months is losing Jack Lynn, 5 months is losing Enrique, 0 incoming strikers. Well, that's a good question. I know for a fact, I mean, that's what I've been told from a good source. They're looking for another attacker and a right back that could also possibly play center back, so like a fullback type of hybrid type of player. So that's what's coming. Those are going to be probably the last 2 signings, and then they'll call it a deal, and that's it. I don't know if they're going to make it to the March. I think it's March 26th. I think is the deadline for the transfer window. So they still have over a month to decide. And it says Frankie Cosmos, woo, let's go. Eddie finally scoring the goal. It says Thiago, it's a lot shorter than I expected, says Frankie. Listed as 5'10", but it looks closer to Angulo's height. Marion looked much better, says Landon. There you go. We got a new Marion fan going on right here, Landon. Pedro del Valle says the only positive, Marion looked much better and Spicer. All right, man. Let's go. Copacetic Buddha says, honestly, Marion looked a lot better than his previous games. There you go. That's a positive. It's a huge positive because we need somebody there. Duncan also looked promising, just need better finishes because it should have been 4-2. I mean, he's our only striker right now, man. And I mean, he needs to have at least a 10 goals this season, at least. I mean, that is being overly negative. I mean, he should have 14, 15 goals. I mean, he should. But again, I mean, I'll take 10. Spicer was the only positive. Show roster, missing 6 versus Colorado. Think we're getting healthy once MLS, Leagues Cup, US Open Cup all hit. I think we're going to be healthy. It's just a matter of how Oscar is going to use his depth. It's going to become that, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, John. He's going to have to use Caraballo. He's going to have to use Gusky. And he has no other choice.
Yeah, I mean, there's more young guys on the roster where, like, before he had enough veterans that he could just like stick to his core 18 guys that he just can't do. Like the 18 most of them are young, right? There's really not that many older, unexperienced MLS guys on the roster. So you got to give chances. You got to play minutes.
Well, like Luis said last week, play the kids in Leagues Cup. We don't care about Leagues Cup. Throw it away. Play OCB in Leagues Cup and let's move on. Like there's no reason for us to do anything else.
But we said that last year and we put all the chips in the Leagues Cup basket.
It's because of the money. And look, and guys, I mean, and I know this is a really unpopular opinion, but I mean, I understand that a lot of big people, a lot of players watch us. It's sometimes, guys, it's not all about the money. I understand this is a business. I'm not telling you guys how to run your business. Certainly, I don't want to come out that way. But you have to understand there is a huge portion of your fan base that is really not happy with the product they're seeing in the field. You gotta give him some sort of love, man. And and really the path, for this team, just by the looks of it, even with the 4 goals that they just scored on us, it looks like they can maybe compete for the US Open Cup. Let them have the US Open Cup. Let the fans have a second Open Cup and just try to move on. You know what I mean? Leagues Cup, yes, you got a lot of the payouts, you got the money. It really doesn't benefit MLS, man. It's just a cash grab. Also, Liga MX also doesn't want to play it anymore. It's just a whole big ordeal. I think the kids should play. I still stay there.
And Luis, to the roster standpoint, until this team's depth can prove that they're meaningful depth, there's no reason to try to go all out on all these competitions. Like, teams that have pages and pages of depth can go out and play in all these competitions and potentially win them. This team currently as constructed, I don't think is set up to go and do that, especially in certain positions of the field. I think if we were just playing like a 5-a-side, then maybe we'd have some luck, but we're not playing a 5-a-side, right? We're playing with 11 guys, and we're not there yet with proven depth to go and do that.
No, you cannot also compare to comparing yourself with Inter Miami. Now, I've seen this a lot. You have to understand this, and you're probably not aware of what's happening over there. They have Lionel Messi. That in itself, it changes a lot of things, whether you like it or not. Number 2, they do tours. They just went to South America and banked about $30 million in this last South American tour. They did Peru, they did Ecuador, they did also, I believe they were going to do PR, but they canceled it. But they've done a lot of the countries, and they bank on this money, and that's how they sign their players, because that's cash money on there. They put on their bank account, capitalizing on Messi, which is the biggest attraction, right? Now, we can compare ourselves to that. It is. If you look at our markets, they're completely different. It's just, we are in a different road, completely different road. Yes, it's soccer. We can beat them with this roster, but we just have to see, the right tactics as well. And I feel like there's a lot of this comparison with Inter. Stop with that stuff, man. They're in a complete different realm of team in the MLS, in my opinion. Just do the math. We downgraded in the back four since done more for the 2026 season in comparison to 2025 back four. Do you agree there with that, John? That we downgraded?
I don't necessarily think so. I think it's just going to take a while to know what this team looks like, right? I think a lot of the beginning of the season, we've got new players. We're going to have to figure it out. I don't think we can know what this team better than last year's team until honestly the end of the season. But I think it's going to have some growing pains. Let's put it that way.
Is that so? We should have kept Schlegel then, says Landon.
No, we should have kept Daggy. If there's anybody we should have kept, is Daggy.
It's Daggy. I agree with you.
He wanted to go to Montreal, so
Moreira gets D- this offseason. 11 players out, 7 in, downgrades across back four, 1 striker. Very sad, says Ruckus Racing. We'll dive into that next. Efro VR88. I miss Daggerdan. At least we're not having this issue now. Yeah. We'll miss him.
Let me, Luis, let me say this about Daggerdan. And I know we've talked about this before. Guys, I get it. I understand. And especially in hindsight, the Daggerdan move looks dumb. There's no doubt about it. I totally understand that. But what we're forgetting, and what the reports that came out about all this is Daggerdan wanted the promise from Orlando City that he was going to get starting playing time at the beginning of preseason. And Orlando City couldn't promise him that. And so Orlando City did right by the player, which we tend to do very often. We have a few outliers, of course, but most of the time we do well by the player. And so we transferred him to a team that was going to play him because he wanted starter minutes and he wanted to stay in MLS. And the club got what I thought was a decent bag back for a guy that at the time we could not promise starter minutes. We can sit here and wax poetic and talk about, well, we knew Alex Freeman was going to be out the door and we knew this was going to happen and whatever. We didn't, because what I can tell you for sure is that people told me the front office thought they were going to stand pat for the rest of this window, and that unless a really good offer for Alex Freeman came in, Alex Freeman was going to be the starting right back, going into the season. They got a great offer and sold him, and because Villarreal got desperate because they had a right back that got injured, and they brought him in and did what they were going to do. So I get it. In hindsight, sure, it looks like a really dumb mistake. Absolutely. But at the time, the club did everything that it was supposed to do in its due diligence. And at this point, we're going to have to just take it on the chin. Like, there's no other way to look at it but that. So, yeah, it's sad and it stinks, but it's the same thing with Enrique. He wanted to go. The money was great. We got great money for him. We at some points, we have to do right by the player. It doesn't make you a cheap team because you're selling the player because they want to go. It makes you a good team and a team that players want to play for when you do right by the player and then also get some money out of it at the same time. So that's the context that you have to think about it in. Sure, is this team objectively worse than the back four? Currently, yes. but as soon as Iago gets better, because I do think he's going to meet the level, he just needs time to meld in. I thought Brekalo would have been more of a leader and not gotten caught as flat-footed as he did in this game, because he did get caught flat-footed a decent amount of times.
And like, yeah, more vocal.
And to be honest with you too, I'll say this, Luis, and people might not like this. I'm not convinced by Crepeau right now. I know some fans are probably with me as well, or maybe some fans think I'm a little early to say that, but I'm not 100% convinced by his performance that he showed against Colorado. So I think it should be an open competition between him and Otero, and whoever is the better one.
John brought it up as if that's why we signed him. He could be benched, and then you bring Otero. I mean, it's just like that.
Yeah.
So just like to add real quick, and then we're going to dive into some of the signings. I know John has the image right now, right here on backstage. Kenneth, you're completely right. Just look at that picture right there. Look, what the hell is Angulo doing there? I was like, what are you doing there, bro? Like, and then you carry Pasalic to get out of position. I mean, you completely discombobulate the whole defense there. And number 77 cooked them, and that's completely a great assessment by Kenneth as well. Jeffrey as well. How is Orlando City going to Mighty Morph when they take a nil like that? Ouch. It says, I'm not an FCM, but I got my hands on some tickets from a coworker. Disappointed game, but maybe they needed to be humbled so they can come out of the gate on strong on Saturday. Well, we'll see. Guys, I think we're going to be playing with a double pivot. I think Brian Ojeda is going to be there. We'll discuss in just a second. But obviously, we got a lot of our opinions out of this game. I think this game's already done, right? Good goal by Edward Atuesta. But now let's talk about.
I want to say, Luis, quickly before we move on to that. From like the fan perspective, like we talked about the field stuff, but I think there's some fan stuff we want to bring up. One, they try to put all the the Society 21 members on the on the boards going around the stadium, and they missed like a lot of people's names. So that was not a good look. Like, don't do that. If you're going to put out everybody's names, make sure you check that list. The other thing is a lot of the players didn't go over and do signatures, and I think that. Although I'm not like the biggest proponent of they have to do that every game and they have to stop for every kid, I think the season ticket member game in the past, it's been something that has happened. And I think it's a chance that, this isn't the season ticket member appreciation game. Like I saw somebody post that's what it is. That's actually, there is a game for that in the season, but this is a season ticket member exclusive thing. So I think they kind of expect to be able to have some opportunities with kids where they'll be able to get some autographs. And I did see some kids like Taifi and Spicer gave out some autographs. I know some did happen, but I feel like the club should either say it's not happening or make it happen at the end of the game.
John, and it makes it worse because they handed out the poster
to the field or something.
They handed out the poster with lines for places to do that.
Also, there's such mixed messages. It's here's a poster, you could get all the signatures, but then they didn't give anybody a chance to do that. And I know we lost 4-1, but I think the coaching staff and everything, they're not in a good headspace right now but it doesn't matter because you have to spend the time regardless to just put a little bit of effort in with the fans. And
Not
like, as
only
a grown
that,
adult, I don't give a flying for
yeah.
like, I'm not interested in, but for kids and for families, it's important, I think. So I think that the club
have to,
should
you
make
have
the
to do
effort,
right.
especially like they gave that out. Why would you give that out and then I'll have signatures? Like, that's just insane.
You gotta do right for your fan base, man. You know what I mean?
You want to
Especially-
know what makes it worse too, guys? I got a call from my rep today. I won't say their name, but I got a call from my rep today, and they asked me if I went to the game and what I thought and blah blah blah. And he asked me if I got the poster, and I literally paused on the phone for a second. I said, "Yeah, I got a poster that nobody came over and like was gonna sign," and he just went dead silent on the phone for like a good like couple seconds, and then I went, "But I don't care about signatures, so it's fine. But I care about the kids that were in front of me because there was a whole group of kids right there in front of me, and like nobody came over to go do any of that." And I thought too, like I thought, to be honest, I thought there was going to be more subs at half because I thought Poppy was going to play with it a little bit more because we got kind of dominated. That would have been a nice opportunity to maybe sub some guys off and let them come over like when halftime started, to just let them go and do some signatures and sign and do all that kind of stuff. But like there was none of it. And honestly, the stadium felt kind of dead because we were all kind of sequestered onto the east side for the most part. And you could walk around to a bunch of different places, but things
that is different, to be fair. Other years they didn't open up. This year they did let you walk all the way around.
But because they did that though, it felt so dead that like nothing was really going on. And so like what I would have done is like, if players were injured or you knew were going to be out for the game, put them in the concourse and say, "Hey, do you want to get your thing signed by Robin Jansson and Taifi because they can't play today?" Or like, "Hey, Harvey's going to walk around because he had back tightness and couldn't play, so he's going to walk around and say hello to everybody and dap some people up."
100%.
All of the events this week, there's opportunities. There's like this trivia night, and like I went to the jersey reveal. Like there's players there. Like they're all giving. So
the drink thing tonight. Or
what's the difference here? Just make it all the players you get an opportunity to sign. But I think the biggest part is why give out that poster if you can't. Like that's just, you're sending missed signals.
For sure.
I don't know whose call it was, but if I know for a fact the way it is in South America, if you just get punished, even if it's preseason, you get punished 3-1 and you're not signing jerseys outside, or you're not like taking a picture with a fan, it's just not a good look at all. And again, that's something that needs to be addressed. I think it needs to come from up top. In the end, you force the player. You say, "Hey, man, like you got to do it. You got to do right by our fan base." It also has to come from Oscar, I believe, too, to push them to do it.
Well, even higher than that, though, because it almost feels like Jared Dillon and Ricardo and Oscar like weren't on the same page about what this event was supposed to be about. And I don't want to like dog on Jared Dillon, but like that's his realm, right? Like he's supposed to be all about like fan engagement and the stadium experience and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like they had the idea to give the poster away. Hey, they got the posters printed. They did all that stuff. But then everyone just forgot to tell Oscar that like, hey, we need to have the players come over after the match and sign some stuff. And I think he made a comment in his post game about, hey, it was great to see the fans, glad the season ticket members were out, blah, 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 blah. But then like none of the players really came over. So if like, again, if you felt that way, you should have, as soon as you saw them walking towards the tunnel and not spending some time doing some signatures, you should have said, "Hey guys, take a walk over there. Let's go see some fans and talk to them real quick and get some signatures and all that kind of stuff."
Yeah, and it's an opportunity for like even Oscar and the players say, "Oh yeah, I know we took the L today, but I wasn't really trying that hard." You know what I mean?
Yeah, to your point about South America, we would have stormed the field and would have been talking to the players.
Like I would have, I would have, I like if I'm a player, I'd be like, I'll sign the autographs and be like, "Yeah, I was just, we're gonna give it all on New York Red Bulls. We're gonna beat Red Bulls." You know what I mean? Like there was a chance for the players to also kind of come to graces with the fans. You know what I mean? And just kind of, they just got clobbered 4-1. You know what I mean? I stood there for a long time with my boys in hopes they would sign my kids. Literally didn't care. They lost. They just wanted to interact with their favorite teams and get signatures. Yeah, man. I saw.
I'm sorry about that, Kenneth. That's awful.
I'm sorry, Kenneth. I saw a little baby, with the outfit all with a bow of Orlando City, like her first awesome. Game, the baby's first game. They're thinking to her first game.
Wow.
I'm
sorry it was this one.
I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like, as a dad, I'm like, yo, I think Pasley could compete with MVP in the best case scenario season. He is him. I hope
If he's here for the year, I think so. Yeah.
They give us posters where players can sign their name. Wasn't the best look when they all went to the locker room. Pass a little look on D Saturday. Crapo reminds me of the boy from Stuart Little. I think Osman was there. Jeez, that's a good one. Dagerdan is better than Angulo right back. I mean, I think that's definitely
low bar to clear.
Well,
Very low bar to clear. I could have put a cone out there. We might have had better luck.
I don't buy the time to gel line. Atlanta, Cincinnati, St. Louis, San Diego. I mean, that's an old line.
It's I don't think that applies. Wolf. Nobody wants to hear that.
I don't think. I mean, if all I'm telling you is this, Ruckus Racing. If I hear it on Saturday, you're gonna have it on video.
Yeah. Well, because here's the other thing, Luis, is like what? Oscar's going into his 6th year, 7th year, whatever it is now. You can't say that the whole team is gelling. The only excuse, of course, that we saw on Saturday that we can talk about is there's no defensive chemistry. That's for sure. It's like these guys were all set up on a blind date and they were expected to,
drives me crazy about that is Oscar's the defensive guy. So like
defensive
minded, just do what you always get them in freaking line. Like what's going on?
And like I said in my tweet, because I was live tweeting for the Colorado fans because they were getting like nothing. So I tried to live tweet for the Colorado fans. And my last tweet, I said, these defenders, I'd lock them in a room for the whole week and just make them talk to each other for the entire week and just really drill the heck out of defensive positioning, defensive lines, defensive communication, the whole 9 yards.
The national team guys need to step up. And what I'm saying is, obviously, Iago's a newcomer, but he'll get that. He'll get there. But I'm talking about Crapo. He played Copa America as a starter for Canada. He needs to, you know what I mean? Football le français, like at least something, right? He speaks Spanish. Then you got Brekalo. He plays for Slovenia, like, you know what I mean? So they have to be a little bit more vocal. What I had an issue was, based on the footage that we saw, Wilder cannot be that vocal captain of the back line playing D-mid. It just takes away from his role of defending and being that first line of defense. You don't want to start now for players to be doing double duty. So I agree with what John says. Lock them all up in a room and make them talk to each other. Big supporter of OCSC and LPO. Thanks for all you do. Any chance we will see Otero and Taifi start instead of Crapo and Angulo against New Red Bulls? Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
I don't think they make either move. A goalkeeper
Taifi,
especially not, because I think with goalkeeper they really want to give Crapo his chance and see what he can do. Taifi, he's coming back from a knock. For those that don't know, he had some tightness, but he's fine. He was back in training today, from what I understand. So
Ojeda will be back too.
Yeah, he's going to be good, but I just don't. I think Oscar's going to give Angulo another shot against Red Bulls. I think the bigger question has to be is what happens against Miami. I think irregardless of the result, and of course I want to win in more ways than one, but irregardless of the result, when Miami comes to town the following week, whether they're messy or messy-less, there has to be a discussion there about you have to consider someone like Nolan Miller to be more defensive, because I think against a team like that you want to be more defensive and more compact, and I think that's probably the way you should play them. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Let's go ahead and go into the second topic. We already discussed pretty much. We said everything we had to say about that.
I want to say to Ruckus Racing that I was not saying that we shouldn't acknowledge the supporters every game. I was saying that I don't think they should have to sign stuff every game, is what I was saying. I think we should definitely acknowledge the supporters.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, could you imagine them not doing the whole wall thing even after we won and them just walking away? Yeah, it'd be pretty messed up.
And for anyone wondering, we're going to be doing preview of New York on Thursday. So it'll be another pod on Thursday.
Yeah. So we'll dive in. So let's talk about the transfer window so far. Was it a success? That's one big question everybody's asking. About 78 people live. Thank you for your support. So thank you to Oz for this amazing graphic. And I'm also gonna, for starters, let's go to John. 9.9 million out and 10,630,000 in. What are your thoughts on this? Clearly getting younger, for sure. A younger Orlando City.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, and why should I care about this? You know what I mean? They're not giving me Ronaldo. They're not giving me Buanga. They're not giving me, I don't know, Neymar. Like why should I care about this, John?
Well, I think it's important to see where the money's being spent, right? Where it went out in terms of where we made money. And I think some people have this idea that like the Wilfs are trying to like milk money out of the club. I don't think that's the case. Honestly, I think running a soccer team is it's very expensive, and really in MLS they don't make a lot of money. They spent 400 something million on the club itself, so their ROI, as it were, is going to take a while. And if you look at what what we've invested back here, right? We pretty much everything that we've made, Ricardo's gone and spent and more. And then eventually when we get in a DP as well, that number on the total total spent is going to be way more. Like it's probably going to be double. I imagine we're going to spend, at least 7, maybe 10, maybe even 15 million on a DP 9 or something at some point, right? I think if we're going to look at the level of what we spent on, the likes of Facundo Torres or, Martin Ojeda on that, it's going to add a lot more onto the total spent. But it also shows that we're, a good club at using the money in the right way. We're able to recycle. I mean, that's really what Ricardo's done here. There's a lot of like for likes. You look at Pedro going out for a free, Maxime coming in for a free. There's a lot of other like for likes, the idea of we brought in Adrian Marin, potential replacement for, Kyle Smith going out, et cetera, et cetera. You can look at many players here. Maybe we spent a bit of money on Brian Ojeda versus, letting our Cesar Rujo go on a free. There's many things you could look at, but I just thought it was a great way to kind of summarize the window. And for everybody who says we haven't made any signings, I think there you go. There's all the signings right there. And some of this is from last year, I want to say.
What are your thoughts there, David, on this graphic that we just put up?
Yeah, so let me say this because I saw Frankie talked about this in the chat about does it make sense to combine real transactions with GAM transactions. I think our goal was to just try to get all the transactions on there. It wasn't so much to be like, hey, the GAM transactions also count as the real life ones. If you really want to, you could take out about $1 million in GAM transactions. So then that really means our spend was 9.6 million as opposed. So then the numbers become a little bit more even.
Yeah.
But
and like we could get 7 million for Alex Freeman eventually. Like there's so much here that could change.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the big thing. Frankie, I didn't make the graphics, so I think Oz did a nice job with it. Our numbers might be a little mixed here, but I think we're missing the bigger point. So I don't want to hit on that too hard. Also, the Schlegel sale came out from the Mexican side that it was 2 million. That's where we got our information for that. So just an FYI on where that comes from. Getting back to sort of the main focus though, and everything that we're talking about here. You can't deny that in certain spots we definitely got better. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I think one of the biggest highlights that you can make on that is the center of the park and midfield. And I think you can make that point on the wings. I think we kind of maxed out on both of those locations. Obviously, like John said, Spicer was a last year, but he was a late last year addition. But again, in addition to the wing that we didn't start last year with, that we added, and now he's going to get a full preseason to bed in and show out for us and all that kind of stuff. We, of course, add Thiago, who so far has really only been playing striker, but he's really a winger by trade. He should be counted there. He's going to be a winger, all that kind of stuff. So you added there. In the middle of the park, you lose Cesar Araujo, but he wasn't plugged in last year. Anybody could tell you that especially after the Atlanta game where he lost his head, he really just kind of fell off for the season. So to me, getting B. Ojeda in, it's going to drive me nuts all year. Bringing B. Ojeda in is an upgrade. Brian Ojeda had a really nice season for RSL last year. He had a really quality season the season before that. So he is going to be good. I think, again, it's going to take him probably a little bit of time to understand Cartagena as much as he understood his RSL partners, and the pivot that he played in RSL. So I think you got an upgrade there. And then on top of that upgrade with Cesar Araujo, you're adding Luis Otavio, who no one's been able, unfortunately, to see this preseason because he's been banged up and had visa issues. But this kid, again, is going to be the real deal. He played the most out of all the young guys that you see up on the screen between Thiago, Luis Otavio, and Iago. He played the most first-team minutes out of any of those dudes last season. He had over 1,000 minutes with Internacional at the top level. As somebody who saw 40 games for Luis Otavio, and I get it, it's my perspective, whatever, fine, I understand. But what I am telling you guys is in those 40 games that I saw him, he is a quality central defender. He's going to do work when he gets used to and accustomed to the league, and I hope that's sooner rather than later. I hope it doesn't take him long to bed in there and be there, because to me, he would be probably the first defensive midfielder I would take off of the bench. That's just me personally. Just didn't see enough out of Gusky last year at the first team level for him to make a difference. Obviously, Jean Gerbet is going to be out for most of the season, so we're not going to really get an opportunity to see him much. And I like Brian Ojeda more as a box-to-box than I do a 6, though Brian Ojeda can play a role and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm thinking is that if Brian Ojeda and Wilder Cartagena start, sort of like Luis wants to, really have that solid double pivot, I think if you want to keep the double pivot going, Luis Otavio is the correct choice, not bringing on like an Atuesta or something like that. I think an Atuesta you bring on if you're trying to go after the game a little bit, right? Like if you want to try to, get him another box-to-box guy in there. Obviously, with the college guys, a lot of people have the feeling of, well, we don't know what we're going to get out of them. That's fair. I get that. Harvey didn't get to play against Colorado. It's kind of tough to see where he's at in terms of how much he can contribute. But I think the club looks at him as an opportunity to contribute on the front line in any one of those 4 front spots, attacking mid, either side of the wing, or the striker position. He's kind of versatile in that direction. And he started preseason well until he got the back tightness that he started getting. And he is day-to-day. So we'll have to see how that goes with him. If we can get any drop of anything out of Adrian Marine, that is a win for this team. He came in and looked awful last year. So, with the Colorado game, like a lot of people commented, he looked solid. I don't want to say he looked great. I don't want to say definitely didn't look bad, but he looked solid. And honestly, for defenders, if I don't have to mention their name, that's a great sign, because then I don't have to worry about it. And like I said, I really liked the ball that he played to Duncan. I thought he had a really nice through ball that he played to Duncan on the left-hand side. So again, you get anything out of him, win. Nolan Miller has had a really solid preseason. You got to love, the fact that he can come in here and bet in like he has. Like we've talked about before, Mitch Ferguson probably made a mistake by not sticking around with Orlando City, but we'll see what that is. And then don't forget, guys, Robin Jansson is expected back. We do expect the Viking to be back mid-season, so he is gonna return to us, and hopefully he's got some quality that he can give us. Now to go to the other side of the table, and a lot of the outs, and that's where people have a lot of issues with. Alex Freeman, right back. He's not replaced, right? We don't have it right now. I agree with the frustration at the right back spot. But as 100%. All of us have said on this show, Poppy needs to give Taifi an opportunity to show that he can't do it, because we just saw what Angulo can't do, and he certainly can't do it. That's for sure. So at this point, you have to start kicking the tires on Taifi, and you have to start, as far as I'm concerned, you need to start kicking the tires on Yearwood if you can get him signed to a contract. And then another name that a lot of people aren't familiar with, Titus Sandy Jr. is another person who's with OCB who could also maybe contribute there. I doubt it, though, because he's the one that got cooked, unfortunately, on the Cincinnati goal that ended the game. So, but we'll see. So I agree with everyone's sentiment on that. You haven't replaced him. Ramiro Enrique, you haven't really replaced him because Duncan's the only striker that's technically on this team right now. We still expect Justin Ellis to be signed. Again, he didn't get a ton of minutes against Colorado, so we don't know how much he's going to be able to contribute at the top level. But between Justin Ellis, Harvey, and then I would even say Thiago, if you play him as a striker, that is the mold that you're looking for with Ramiro Enrique. So I think, unfortunately, that replacement by committee is going to be the only way you're really going to replace that. Rodrigo Schlegel, yeah, kind of tough to replace him. We'll see what Nolan Miller can do. I still think this team brings in another center back eventually because, again, like Luis said, window's open until March, so we'll see. Dagger Dan, I'm with people on the fact that I don't know that we have our Swiss Army knife right now, because that's really what Dagger Dan was, right? He could play a bunch of different positions. Kyle Smith, similarly, could play a bunch of positions for us, all that kind of stuff. I think the closest out of everyone that could potentially do that is someone like Taifi, but if he goes and locks down the right back spot. You're not moving him anywhere else on the field. You're leaving him at right back, right? So you would need somebody behind him who can go and do that. So because we know Taifi's played right back, he's played left back. He even played a little bit of center back in his academy days. If you want to go back a little bit further, he's played central defensive midfielder as well when he's been called into it. So he can play those spots. But again, if he locks down right back, then there's no way it's going to end up happening that way. So I will say overall, I don't think we got the value back yet that we should have. However, the like-for-like replacements that we've gone and changed, i.e. Luis Otavio for Cesar, I think you upgraded there. I think Thiago versus whatever random winger you want to pick out of the team that's neither not here, didn't contribute last year. Thiago's an upgrade on that. Because he's going to be available, he's going to be here, he's going to do things, right? Crépeau, I would say at Crépeau's best, he's probably at Galese's like middle of the thing. But remember, the reason we let Galese walk was because his money was ridiculous. The guy was on $1.25 million. You don't pay a goalkeeper who's only in the top 15 $1.25 million. You just don't. So, and again, egg on the club's face a little bit for Coronel falling through. So if you want to break it down that much, and I'm not going to keep bloviating about it, but there's a lot of fans online that are like, we've lost on everything. This is terrible. There's been no upgrades anywhere. We're in the crapper, blah, 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 whatever. That's not true at every position. Are there positions that we're in trouble? Absolutely. And I hope Ricardo knows that, and I'm sure that he does. But there are also other positions where I don't think we're that far in the hole, and that we're just waiting for this one thing to click or this other thing to go by. And again, if Tincho's in the game on Saturday, I think it's a different game. And I know that's hard to say because people will come out and say, well, what about the games where we don't have Tincho? And that's a fair argument, but I don't need to think about that right now because as long as he's healthy, that's all that matters. The club will need to figure that out and see what that looks like. But I just think it's tough to kind of go and break it down move by move because it's not a one-for-one math assignment here. It's a squad that you're trying to build all around. But there's work to be done. I want to say that. There is work to be done still.
Well, according to sources, there's 2 more signings happening for Orlando City. Again, the window ends on March the 26th. To give my opinion about this graphic, Nicolas Rodriguez, bust. Sorry. Cesar Araujo didn't want to play after 2024. He did not want to play in Orlando City. He did not want, and I'm going to say this now. Now I can say it. He did not want to play in Orlando City. So he needed to be gone. And you cannot hold on to a player that doesn't want to be part of your group. Kyle Smith, he had a ceiling. He was homesick. He wanted to go to Cincinnati. He's a legend here, and they're going to do what's best. Pedro Galese, love and hate. People, love and hate. There's love and hate going on now in Colombia too, for what I've heard. He just had probably the best performance of since he arrived in Colombia this weekend, but also he had some duds. So there were some mixed emotions there. I mean, we already saw it coming, but I mean, he's player of the week for the Colombian League, Pedro Galese. Now, Luis Muriel, bust. Thomas Williams was never going to get a chance, and that's the truth. Dagger Dan, that's hurt, but I mean, we got $500,000. Rodri Schlegel, people wanted to change, not Papi's guys. Well, he was a Papi guy. So there you go. Ramiro Enrique, we were never going to bank on him $10 million. With us, he was never going to be worth $7 million. He was never going to be worth $4 million. But we got $3.3 million, and we pulled the plug on it because it made more sense at that time. Alex Freeman, a phenom, probably one of the hopefully the best right backs the United States has ever seen. So $4 million out of him walking out of free. I think it's a steal for Orlando. So that's the transfers out for what I can see. Transfers in. I mean, if you've been following the team goes low cost, high reward. They've always done this way. But in this scenario, and I'm going to say with kind of what David and John said before in previous episodes, is they've gathered U22s, because that's the model that we use. The U22 model is what we have as a team. U22s that have a lot of upside, that have had first team minutes, that have played for their national team. So these are not your Ivan Angulos, your Ramiro Enriquez. They're not your even Martino Ojedas that came from a small club. These are players that are used to the spotlight. Now, obviously, we didn't see that in the game from Iago, but he just got off the plane. He had 4 practices with the squad. Now, then you got a guy who wanted to play as a starter in Toronto, was not allowed to. Tyrese Spicer, he's killing it in Orlando. The whole Maxime Crepeau thing, I agree with David there. I think we kind of dropped the dud there. I think that's a really big drop. Harvey is definitely somebody they've been scouting, from my understanding, for a while. Adrian Marin was a dud last year. He came in kind of cold feet. We don't know what's going to happen, so there's a question mark there. Now, all I'm going to say is this, and for everybody that's saying, hey, Orlando City in 2024, based on the MLSPA, spent 17.49, and we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We lost. In 2025, according to the MLSPA, we were 7th, and we spent 16.1 million. So almost 1 point something million less, and we had the season that we had. Now, some of the big spenders were Cincinnati, 23.1 million, Atlanta United, 28.4 million in 2025, LAFC, 30.1 million, Inter Miami, 48.9 million, Chicago Fire, 23.1 million. Now, my question, what can Orlando do if they would spend 22 million instead of 16.1? Now, does that guarantee us that we're going to definitely be in the top 3 in the MLS? There's nothing for certain. Look at Chicago, look at DC United, look at Atlanta, and how much money they spent on. It doesn't really guarantee us a lot it doesn't guarantee us. Now, yes, we could probably get more star-studded players, but it doesn't really guarantee us results. If you ask me, what would I like to do? I would love to see a Ricardo Moreira spending $21 million in Orlando City. But again, it's not my money. And I know for a fact, based on how Orlando's signing, they're thinking 2 seasons down the road. And I know people want to win now, but it is what it is, right? I would love for them to spend 21 million at least in Orlando City for signings. In the whole entire year. But again, I can't tell you if that is going to make us better. So we're going to have to see how. There's 2 more signings coming, right? How they're going to pan out, if they're going to work. And then we can certainly next year say, hey, some of these signings are still good. We're building up. We may make the playoffs. We may not make the playoffs, and that'll be disappointed in itself. But I think Orlando is signing better U22s than before. And with that, what positions, John, do you feel need reinforcement? I think it's pretty straightforward.
I'd still love a left back, but with only 2, it's got to be a center back and a right back.
A center back and a
right back.
And a right back.
Yeah.
What about you, David?
Right back first, then center back.
Yeah. I think Orlando City needs to run the table this window. I've changed my tune a little bit about the DP. I think because the window's open until March 26th, I think Orlando City needs to go and address right back first, because I think that's the most important thing, because we do not need to see Ivan Angulo over there again.
Welcome to the club, David.
I want to see my boy Taifi, please, for the love of all that is holy. Which I want to shout out the Taifi family because I always see them at games and they're always so invested and plugged in. And I saw the picture that got retweeted of I think it was his mom that posted about Taifi signing the stuff and everything. I just think it's great. He's just such a great kid and everything. But anyway, I don't want to wax too much poetic about him. Any of the kids, honestly. Reed Brown, I'm in the same camp on. I'm really high on Reed Brown. I want him to get an opportunity. If Marin's not doing it, quick hook there, give the kid a chance, all that kind of stuff. But going back to needs, address right back right now. I don't care how you do it. Get a league guy, get somebody else. It really doesn't matter to me. Get somebody in the door right now. And then
league guy would be fast because or else we got to deal with paperwork.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think the league guy is the best way to do it and just kind of see what you can get there. And then I think the DP needs to be addressed now. And I know that there's the whole story of like, well, if we wait to the summer, we could get this, we could get that. I don't care about that. At this point, the Wilfs have a wallet. We know they do. They need to open that wallet and they need to spend what they need to go spend. I shout out to Mike over at Lions Den. I've been chatting a lot with him this offseason, but he just did the preview for Soccer Wise for Orlando City. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you go check it out. I think he did a really nice job kind of weighing all of the fans' concerns. The name he dropped, Darwin Núñez, he's on the out in Saudi Arabia. I know the guy costs a ton of money, but this is the kind of profile.
Luis doesn't want him. Luis is
the
scarred.
kind of profile.
He's South American scarred.
To become a puke bucket.
This is the kind of profile, though, Luis, that gets people in the stadium and who can also produce on the field.
Darwin Núñez?
I'd take Núñez.
Will bring people in the stadium?
Man.
Oh, 100%.
I know you don't like him because of South American reasons.
But that's my point. But my point is go out because listen, I'm all for spending money, but we need to spend money in the correct way. That's the whole point about it. We can't go out again and pay a guy like Luis Muriel $4.5 million a year to come in overweight
100%.
and then not contribute for most of the season, right? We need a guy who's going to come in here, who's going to be fit, who I would also like to be a leader of sorts. He doesn't have to be the guy, but a leader of sorts to go in there and take it. And I know the club said, or Ricardo specifically said, they're open to any attacker. They're not going to put themselves in a hole, whatever. I think it needs to be a 9. And that's not an insult to Duncan. I just don't think Duncan, sort of like to what Luis and John said earlier tonight, I just don't know that Duncan is a 15-goal plus guy. He hasn't shown it to us yet. And so without that proof there, bring in a guy who we know can go and bang in goals, right? That's what I'm looking for. Like, like, I know Luis joked about, like, Neymar not coming in, right? It's a reality. He just got his first minutes this season, and he had a goal contribution and rated out at an 8.0, and he's going to be on a free in the summer. So I'm just saying, like, those are things that are out there. But I think this team needs to address striker, and they need to address it now. And if it's not a DP up there, let's say the front office wants to stay open going into the summer window, you need to bring in probably, again, another league striker who has a pedigree of banging in 7 to 10 goals at least and can do those kind of things because there's guys riding pine and benches and whatever. Bring a guy in who can put the ball in the net and know that we can have a backup there because if Duncan's not doing it, I'm not 100% on Thiago. I know I've said this throughout this entire offseason. Thiago's best position is out wide, and I think he needs to be out wide, and I think he's going to be the most successful there. So, again, get the best guys for the spots that you want them for. Don't move all these pieces around to try to make them fit. And so to me, it's right back, it's striker, and then find a way to add to the center back depth eventually. Whether it's this window or the next window, you got to find some center back depth just to have another body.
Obviously, when it comes to Darwin Núñez, I kind of want to clarify. Obviously, I'm a little joking here. But the only reason why I'm a little doubtful, all jokes aside, about Darwin Núñez is just mainly his attitude. And if we felt that Muriel was a diva and he was, I think Darwin Núñez is worse than a diva. I mean, the dude
I can see that.
In Uruguay was a diva. When he played with the national team, wanted guaranteed minutes.
He was a diva
benched. In Liverpool also ended up going like a diva. So we don't need that. We need just people that want to come play for these fans and celebrate and
but
do
the problem is
like
that status of player though a
Yeah.
majority
agree
of
with
them
you.
have personalities and diva type
Yeah,
traits.
that's true. But we have to
No.
be careful. What I'm saying is because you end up in a Muriel situation where they don't want to try, right? You can be a diva, but you have to actually run. Like, you have to
Yeah,
put the
you gotta
work
Sure.
in.
run.
I don't care
Yeah.
if you, and also there's the locker room thing. And I mean, I agree with what you're saying on the striker, but I think it's more likely that we've
No.
seen Thiago put there so much because they're preparing for a world where, maybe we get another striker, but I don't think they're going to push to find that striker now.
No, I think it's Justin
I
Ellis.
honestly
I
think
think it's Justin Ellis. I
right.
think it's Justin Ellis, Thiago, and Duncan.
Exactly, another backup option because we need that. But I would love to go get that DP right now, but I think the kind of guy that we want, it's like a needle in a haystack to find him in the January window.
Also, there's more parity, more parity within teams in the MLS than in the Saudi league. So if you're judging
Yeah.
Darwin Nunez because he's scoring back-to-back on the Saudi league, it's because there's only three teams there that Al Khulud, where Ramiro went, it's maybe a top 6 just because they put a lot of money in there. But other than that, they're like the bottomest of the bottom. If you think of a fandom over there, there's
Yeah.
only 3 teams. And again, here in the MLS, like, it's a little bit different. Now, is he gonna work? I mean, he's definitely physically,
He's very skilled, like extremely good
age-wise,
player, don't get me
skill-wise,
wrong.
what he did in Peñarol, what he did in Liverpool. I mean, there's a reason why he played in the Premier League in one of the top clubs there, right? So I'm not discounting that he's a bust. I'm just saying I don't think his attitude will mesh well with what we're trying to build here. Now, also, I do want to say,
Yeah.
and this is important, I feel like we could have best of both worlds, kind of like what Cincinnati is doing, because right now Philadelphia is successful at what they do because whatever kids they have in the pipeline, they play. And we don't know that. That for us is a question mark. So even for fans, they don't recognize some of these kids, right? Now, when it comes to Cincinnati, they have they have kids, they have young, proven, and they also have established players. They open the wallet. And that's been very successful for them. And also having a coach that, it's within the league, has played the league, knows the league very well, and again, I'm just trying to say is like how would Orlando City would look like if they'll spend $7 more million, you know what I mean, or $10 more million.
We've never spent like 15 million on a striker, and that's like if we went out and spent like Denke level money on that
Right.
kind of level striker, that's what we want, really. Is
Like-
go
But let
out.
me-
It
but let
doesn't
me-
have
let
to
me-
be, latte lath money. But
Yeah.
it needs to be more than the like 7 million that we've ever spent.
Same
right?
maximum
What are you
maximum
gonna
from
say, David?
Yeah,
I guess my point and the thing I worry about on the DP conversation is that, like, let's say it's worst case scenario for this team. Like a lot of people on social media are saying it's gloom and doom and we're all screwed, right? let's say it's that bad, right?
right.
Is a DP of that caliber gonna want to come to this dumpster fire of a team in the summer? Like, I'm just saying, like, if we're 13th in the table in the East in the summer, is a DP gonna go and look at us and go, you know what? You're right. Let me go take my talents to Orlando and
Just
go get
prove
as many
everybody
fast
wrong.
passes
He's
as I
gonna
can.
sell it. I think it's possible. I mean, I think
Maybe
Orlando. I think with a bigger wallet and with Ricardo, I mean, he's had his bust too, and I mean, every single front office person that's been in Orlando has had their busts. Vanderwater, you can call Vanderwater a bust. You can call Cara a bust, right? So, but there's successes like Martin Ojeda, like Ramiro Enrique, like Pedro Galese, like Rodrigo Schlegel. Like, there's a lot of good.
But
Now,
Luis, let me
I
say,
would like to see Ricardo what he can do with more money.
let me say this though. Speaking of DPs and high profiles, the only high profile DP that I think this team has been successful with is Luis Nani, because
100%.
Kaká was really just the spiritual guy to get us through the
Yeah.
beginnings, and honestly, his on the field play wasn't spectacular, but we got enough out of him to try to like propel us obviously into MLS. But like, Where's our Luis Nani? You know, like I know they don't grow on trees, but like this is the kind of thing that the club has to start to look for. And personally, me, and this is, and again, if this happens or if it doesn't, it doesn't really bother me. But like, I would like a high profile DP that's going to stick around for a few years. I don't
100%.
want necessarily, like, as much as I would take Lua, right? Like I would take Lua in a heartbeat if I felt like we could get him service and he could score goals. But if we could get somebody else who's more of a Darwin Núñez age, or somebody who's 29 or 30,
or like Memphis,
who's gonna give us a couple years of like, we know we can get a few things out of them. Because again, if this team does start slow, let's say they start slow and this isn't their year, which I know John and a lot of us had come in and you know, realized this might not be our year. Yeah, that's fair. Ruckus Racing.
That's fair. That's fair
enough.
That's 100%
hey,
fair.
but listen, he was a MLS's back all-star, so let's not take that away from he pushed that team to a new height. But anyway, to my original point is, I want a guy because if this isn't the year, like if this season isn't the season and it turns into silly season or the new format season in 2027, I want a DP who's going to be like, okay, I'll get through the BS that is going to be what this season might look like, but they'll be ready to go by the time, you know, we're ready to compete and do on those levels. Like another year older for Thiago, another year older for Otavio, another year settled and older for Iago, and all that kind of stuff.
I would totally sign Alex Valera 100%. They call him Nazario, like Ronaldo Nazario. He's a Peruvian striker. In the past 3 seasons, he's been scoring no less than 14 goals a season. And the dude's still playing the Peruvian league. Now, obviously, Peruvian league is really not that competitive. But I mean, I'm just gonna say, I mean, it would be cool to see that.
But is he gonna put?
I agree with David. We need somebody that brings that's a Nani, you know, and leadership. I mean, there were times that Pareja's tactics, and I think that was actually one of the reasons why Nani wasn't longer there, was because there were times when Pareja's tactics, he just tends to be over defensively, right? And Nani would like to push forward, and he would hit a beautiful cross. He would hit, you know, a beautiful goal and do this backflip and all of that, and then they will squash whatever tactics they talked about in the halftime. You know what I mean? Nani was the coach on the pitch, while Oscar was the coach in the stands, right? So I just think that Nani, we need somebody like that. We need somebody that when, you know, like, you know, we're talking about having a voice, right? And having and being vocal. Like, we need that. We haven't had that even since Nani left.
Thomas Mueller is what we need. That's what we need.
Yeah, Thomas Mueller could have come here.
Or like a human song. That's what we need.
Yeah. But anyways, with all of that we just spoke about in your comments, which we'll bring in just a second, the MLS did 2 things. The first one was they did a starting 11 for the Red Bulls, a projected starting 11, which has this is a nightmare of a starting 11 when it comes to Orlando City. So Crepeau as your number 1, you have Ivan Angulo as your right back, which everybody wants to like pull their hair out. David Brecalo, Iago, Adrian Marin, and then you have Atuesta and Wilder Cartagena right there as your 1-2 punch combo, and then you have Sturry Spicer and Marco Pasalic as your wings, Martin Ojeda as your number 10, and then Duncan McGuire as your 9. So that's their projected starting 11. This is the MLS. Now, I would like to think that aside of that Angulo, it seems that that's what's going to be lining up against the Rebels, but that'll be a different story. But and then obviously a lot of the pundits for the MLS Apple TV guys, some of the talent predicted the 2026 regular season standings for Orlando City, and so we have a lot of good names. We have Max Britos, 3rd in the Eastern Conference.
We love you, Max.
Than me.
I want to know what he's drinking because I need a glass of that.
100%.
I'm assuming Bruno Vane is he's Brazilian. Like, it's got to be. That's why he put us in 4th.
I don't know.
100%. Or he just you know, he's a happy clapper.
Maybe he's a big Duncan McGuire fan.
He's in the happy clapper group. Happy clappers. And then you have Bradley Wright Phillips, 12. Man, might as well just make us go back to
Funnily
USL.
enough, I think our other friend from Red Bulls who was with us for a little while, Sasha Kleshton also panned us as well.
Bust.
I mean, come on, Sasha always has.
I'm gonna say that it was a
That's because Sasha was garbage when he was here, and he can't get over the fact that he was trash when he was here.
Dax McCarthy was at the game and put out a little tweet.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was like, who? Like, how did he end up at this game? What a weird. Like, I thought he overhyped Colorado though.
He's buddies with like Miguel and like a few other guys that like and he's an Orlando guy. He's back here now in Winter Park, I think. So
yeah, don't let that dude come back in. He's over here saying Colorado's a top 4 team now, and
who Dax?
Like, we're over here. Yeah, we're over here
Dax,
to the playoffs. Get out of here.
Well, whatever. I mean,
Miguel put us in 7th. I think Miguel's got it about
That's
right.
Fair. Hey, just to say, that's where I put us. Just saying.
I put us
Miguel
6th, so I'm pretty close to most of these. Luis, what did you say at the end? I forgot what you predicted.
You got Dax McCarty 9th. You have Sami Sadovnik, Peruvian commentator, 8th. You put 8th there. Miguel Gallardo 7th. So everybody's between the 7th and the 10th. Position there, and the positive guys are Max and Mr. Bruno Vane. I was gonna say Bruno Mars, but and then me, because I was like 4th.
I've never heard of Bruno Vane. I don't know who this guy is. I feel like I should know.
So I just looked him up. It looks like he spent a lot of time. He's from Argentina, but he spent a lot of time in South America and then made his way to MLS to cover Spanish.
He's 22s. That's what.
Yeah, because there's a lot of youth kids. Like if you follow youth, like Iago, he's pretty well known there. Like Thiago as well. So
hey, he's probably a big Tincho fan. If he's Argentinian, he's probably a huge Tincho fan.
And he's come a long way. I mean, he's
and he should be because Tincho is. Whoo-hoo.
Now, do we agree with this? I mean, I think we're probably going to be. I would like to believe. I mean, it is a bust of a season if we don't even make playoffs. I think if
heads should roll if we don't make playoffs 100%. If they haven't already.
Yeah, I agree.
This is where it averaged out, right?
Okay.
In their total. Yeah. So this is what they think, I guess, for
I think
the
that's
averages,
fair.
opinions.
I think on the playoff line is fair.
That will be that probably is. I mean, realistically speaking, that's fair.
Sorry,
not exactly the same as last year.
Sorry, not playoff line, play in line, because Correct. We don't count 8 and 9. As
Do we make it this year though? Is that the difference? We actually make it in through that game.
Yeah. God.
Now, are we allowed to make fun of them if?
Definitely.
Well, yeah, you keep receipts, of course.
Right?
I'll have to do it. Last year, I had a receipt of everybody's Eastern Conference rankings, and like obviously, this is the thing. We're writing ourselves as like this is not our year, but nobody had Philly as their year last year. So like it all could come together really quickly, and we could be awesome. And like, there's a world where that could happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, but like nobody. So you heard it.
You guys heard it here first. John says we're running through the first 5 W's. That's what John's saying.
No.
Well, one thing I do would like to see though, and I know it's a little hard, but maybe next season we need to see more openness in just the tactics and the lineups and what's happening in preseason. Both clubs, Orlando City and Orlando Pride, super secretive, super tight. Like they don't want nobody to watch them. Closed door games, and then you have a lot of our counterparts playing open door, playing in South America, in Europe, in Mexico, with again
Coachella Invitational.
Yeah, and playing invitationals. I think if you guys want to have the best of both worlds, do your preseason cup. Bring somebody from a cheap team from South America. Bring a Colombian team. I don't know. Make a little tournament because we're going to need better competition. We cannot just be playing against colleges and USL teams and Lexington. I mean, no disrespect, But you have, for example, Inter Miami facing Barcelona from Ecuador, Alianza Lima. You had them facing Copa Libertadores match-ready dudes. And, again, I
I mean,
know
you got
that,
Coachella and they're streaming all the games for MLS.
yeah, and I understand, like, maybe they're spending $16.1 million on their whole entire squad in 2025. Bro, put up like 200K or 100K, broadcast the whole preseason, like or at least, you know what I mean? Like, record the games for people to see. It's a good investment to give just fans a little bit of something.
Luis, I think in order to make it open, because there's a few fans that have reported, like Red Bulls had a similar problem where they didn't get a lot in preseason either. I think the league needs to step in and just say, teams, we're gonna, at the very least, you need to be live tweeting your matches, or you need to be like, there needs to be a level set by the league that says, no, this is what you're going to show your fans in preseason. We want to grow the game. We want people to be interested.
Whatever. Yeah. Bring anybody else. Like, you have, people like the soccer wise people, bring them and do the thing live in, for him to have the right to,
or at least let local media. Let local media do it. If you don't want to do it yourself, let local media come in and just let them film their clips. Also, and
it doesn't
photos.
Cost much to set up a camera and hit a live stream. I'm sorry, that's not an excuse. It's not.
So all I'm trying to say, guys, is he has to be the best of both worlds. But I mean, in the end, we want what's best for the club. So it says, kind of thinking we're shite at the World Cup break thanks to short roster, zero depth as much as anything, which gets Papi fired and leads to a worse development period second half of the season. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, I can tell you is, if the first 5 games they're all L's, I think people are. I don't even have to say absolutely nothing.
If he doesn't get, I don't think if he gets less than I think 9 points out of the first 5 games, he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think you can let him ride more than that. I just don't, especially against the opponents you're going to play and where you're going to put yourself in the season. I can't see how you can let him ride. I just don't.
And again, it's not like we're trying to like be haters of Oscar at all. No, it's just, we're speaking reality here. Orlando, it's right now unproven, and that's the fact. Now, he's been part of every major decision when it comes to all the signings, when it comes to the departures. So it's not like he's not being part of that, or this has been made autonomously by the front office. He's been part of all these decisions. So you got to make it. You got to make Orlando City competitive. You got to make it work. You have to tell your players that they need to kill for, the badge and go forward. I mean, I would like to, after World Cup break, just be like, we're 4th, or, we're 5th, we don't need to go to, no crazy playoff, whatever, low berth or whatever place, I will love that, but it is the reality. Orlando right now, there has a big question mark on some of the newcomers of the team. It says Devils Den 3-2-1. Bro, our defense wasn't talking. Were they whistling? How do the players know that he's trying to say, because I was at their game? Says here. I don't think they were whistling though. Also, the way that 77 on the other team, the space he had was wild because, I know that. Thank you, Devils. Then appreciate it. Yeah, pretty much. Angulo kind of not working there as a right back.
Nope.
9th seems pretty fair in my opinion. So
yeah.
Anything else you want to add, David, before we part and we go, and we'll come back on Thursday?
Yeah, I'm going to drop one more name for you all that Orlando City should be linked to, and Ricardo is very familiar with this person. I'm going to dig up the well again of getting Georgian from Flamengo, get him in here. let him score goals and get assists, and I don't care who plays striker. Honestly, you could put a traffic cone there. This guy would put up so many large numbers, it would be nuts. But on a more serious note, as much as I want to sit here and wishcast all evening, my big thing that I'm really excited for this week, if you guys, I'll start with this. If you guys have not already, please take the survey that we put out last week and that I've tweeted out a few times this week as well. You can find that on any of our socials. We've all kind of retweeted it at this point, or you can find it on the subreddit r/OC Lions. Really great response rate so far. It's going to close tomorrow at 11:59. I know this sounds like a school assignment, but I didn't mean it that way.
Let me tweet it. Actually, as we are live, David, let me send it to the chat right now. I'm going to go into your...
Sure. So that's going to close tomorrow at 11:59. So please make sure you take that. Get it. Any Orlando City fans that you might know to take that as well. My plan is to break down those numbers, and then I'll have a pre-recorded video that will go over all of those numbers. We'll talk about what it looks like, talk about what fans are expecting, and then I'll also have a written piece on LPO as well as the subreddit to kind of talk about those numbers, because I'm really curious to see how fans are feeling about this season. So I'm really excited to kind of get that out and do that. And then I do plan to do probably one more preview piece before we kick off on Saturday, just because I want to put some last minute thoughts to paper and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about what this season looks like and all that kind of stuff. I want to shout out. I know we've been doing it every week, but I know some of our podcast partners have been taking breaks and they're all coming back. I just want to shout out all of our friends that are in the space, our friends over at Lions Den, Citro and his team over at the Mainland, the In 90 Minutes guys, David Valentin, John W., Ahmed, all those guys that are over there. I just want to shout all of them out because we all know what a grind this can be, and this might be a tough season for us. We'll see what it looks like. But they're all basically coming back this week, so I really just want to shout out all of them. Make sure you go and watch their content. They all have a different perspective and a different taste of what Orlando City is about, and as many different opinions as you can get just makes the game better, right? We can all kind of enjoy it in our own way. So I just want to shout out those guys and some of the great work that they're putting out with all of that. Just really, more than anything, just kind of proud to be a small part of this community that we're putting together here. And, guys, whether it's a tough season or whether it's a great one, we'll be here with you every step of the way. And if we're mourning, we'll mourn with you. If we're celebrating, we'll be celebrating with you. So looking forward to those ups and downs for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to tell everybody that I just pinned the survey just now, so it's pinned on the chat. So to the 35 people watching on YouTube, go there and just click on it and just answer everything. It's very important. I feel like as feedback in general, also for the club, I wish the club could do that, but I think it's really good for everybody to get a feeling. Anything you want to add, John, as well, before we go?
Last week I went to the jersey opening. That was really cool. I did a little video about that on the channel. So if you want to see what that event was like, it's like a 3-minute video. You can watch that. I also did a lot of previews. I did designated players and designated pundits. So if you want more Orlando City content, go over there and watch previews from those guys. I'm going to do a one with the Battered Herons tomorrow, I believe. I've also been on Goals TV doing stuff with them. So we did a jersey review of all the jerseys that came out, as well as a preview of the East with those guys. So if you need more MLS content, go over to Goals TV, check that out. I did a conversation with Fabian Rankel about 2026 and big picture talk MLS and all that stuff. So if you can watch that, you can go watch that. I've just been making a lot of content, guys. So I got a lot of stuff out there. Also NWSL, if you want more NWSL content, I've got a podcast out about that, and we're going to be back in a minute with the Pride Pod as well. So I'm just making videos.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to just say, we have LPO is coming back on Thursday with a preview against the game against the Red Bulls, the opening day. Also on Friday, there's going to be a video in which is going to be a deep dive on the Red Bulls coming out on Friday, right before so you can kind of watch it while you're going to the game and things like that. I have my friends from Soccer View Radio from New York. They're going to be coming in and just kind of dropping. I'm gonna be interviewing my good friend Vass. Just kind of he covers New York Red Bulls there. He's accredited with them, so it's gonna be fun. And then also we have a surprise guest, hopefully, a surprise interview, hopefully soon, if the club permits me. So you probably will see it, the flyer and all of that, fairly soon. And we are also going to be bringing. I'm working on bringing Franco Panizo again from Inter Miami, journalist, to talk about the game against Inter probably in the next few weeks. But the season's already started for all of us here. I'm excited to be back and to see everybody there at the press box. And to everybody that stops by and says hello, thank you so much for your support. We're always here to put out the best content. So make sure you check out John Rollins TV on YouTube. Make sure you check out also David is putting out his content also on his X account, FLA Doodler 18. Also, he's been doing a lot of the reports and a lot of the analysis for some of these matches that are going to happen. And again, thank you to Kenneth, to Sidge, to everybody that watched today. We have the pipe on the next few minutes. And anything else you guys want to add before we go?
Thursday, we will be here to preview Red Bulls, and we will have a guest from the Red Bulls as well.
Yeah, we have, I think, Bob, right? Bob?
Yes, Bob is going to join us to give us his thoughts on the Red Bulls.
It's going to be fun. I always love having Bob over. So we'll see you guys on Thursday, and vamos Orlando. Have a good one, guys.
Vamos.
Take care.